I knew something was off with my dad when I was still on chemo. I started noticing he was kind of like losing weight. And I said to my mom, I was like, Mom, Dad's looking kind of thin. Is he still eating? Like, what's going on? It looks like he hasn't been eating much. And she's like, oh, yeah, your dad's still eating, but you know how your dad is. My dad was always very self-aware of his appearance, always had a comb in his back pocket, always liked looking good. So she would say, he's just, trying to stay in shape. But I knew something was wrong. I kept a close eye on him, and I noticed he wasn't eating as much. And I was like, okay, this isn't like my dad to not eat. My dad was Italian, he loved food. After the party, I'd noticed like he seemed quiet, a little quiet at my party. Like looking back at pictures, you could see he was in pain. So he was always saying, he was like, I'm a sick man, there's something wrong. I would ask him like, how he was feeling. He was just like, I'm just ready to retire. And I was like, okay. I was like, Dad, you need to retire. If you're ready to retire, it's time to retire. I was encouraging him to, but my mom was like, I'm afraid if he retires, he's just gonna end up, sitting around and not doing anything. There's research out there that says people that retire and they are stagnant and they don't move around a lot, don't stay active, statistics prove that they die within 2 years. So my mom didn't want that happening. So she was pushing him to continue to work, continue to work, continue to work. He cut back his hours and he finally was just like, that's it, I'm just retiring. So we had a little retirement party for him at my house. And I had already finished chemo at this point. I was 9 months out from finishing chemo. Dad retires 2 weeks after he retired. He was also diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. That was even harder for me to watch my dad go through what I had to go through. It was much harder. He had stage 4 lung cancer that had metastasized. And towards the very, very end, we learned that it definitely spread to his brain and his bone. And he had a horrible, horrible fall in the bathroom, and he broke his femur, which tells us that it definitely spread to his bone. Given the treatment he was on, it had caused a big hole in his stomach, which is what was making him feel so horrible and caused him to fall in the bathroom because he was feeling so sick. Rushed him to the ER. I'll never forget, I got that call from my brother. I think it was at like 4 a.m. Dad fell in the bathroom. We're taking him to the emergency room right now. The ambulance is on the way. I remember getting in the car, and I think I did like 100 miles an hour to my parents' house that night, 4 a.m. There was no stopping me. And I got there just in the nick of time when the ambulance was closing the back door. And I just remember jumping up on the back of that ambulance and pounding on the glass, and I kept screaming like, Daddy, I'm here, I'm here. And that was like pretty much the beginning of the end. Brought him into the hospital, and the ER had said, you've got 30 minutes to decide what we're gonna do here. We've never seen a hole this big in somebody's stomach. So my mom and my brother were just like looking at me, what do we do? Like, I'm the one with the medical knowledge. So they had no idea what was happening. I understood what they were talking about. I said, okay, we're gonna get his stomach fixed, and then we're gonna have a conversation with him afterwards with what we're gonna do. Because they had also said that they'd be able to get their ortho doc in there to repair his femur at the time as well. Well, he comes out of the OR, and they said, oh, we weren't able to get the ortho doc in, so they weren't able to repair his leg, but they were able to repair the hole in his stomach. And that really pissed me off because they got him off of the ventilator just to bring him back down to the OR the very next day to re-intubate him, put him back on the ventilator and repair his leg. I said, none of this makes any sense. I was pissed off. He ended up having an open belly. He was in and out of the ICUs. We got him down to like a med surge floor, and he was doing physical therapy. I just remember him saying, I can't do this anymore. Like, he just was not tolerating physical therapy. He was just too weak. We were at the hospital still, and he says, Trina, I just want to go home. It's all right. You ready to go home? And he said, yeah. So we brought him home on hospice. My dad was only 64. And he didn't even want to sing happy birthday because he knew it was going to be the last birthday he'd be with me. So we didn't sing happy birthday, which was fine. And 9 days later, he passed. That whole experience, it was like we were on like 2-hour shifts at a time where we were all taking turns like 2 hours at a time. None of us were getting any sleep, just around-the-clock care because we had to bring him home with an open belly. And they did repair his leg, but the pain he was in, I just kept dosing him and dosing him, morphine and morphine and morphine, as much as he wanted. I was like, as much as you need, Dad. Just take care of him, make sure he was comfortable. And he actually had passed on my mom and dad's 34th wedding anniversary. So I feel he pushed through my birthday and he made it till 34 years. Kind of full circling back to how funny my dad was. My dad liked to smoke pot. And his time of death was 420. So it was almost like, don't cry. I'm still here.